Welcome to the Mind of Business Success podcast. I'm your host, Alicia Kramer. Our guest today is Shauna, the tax goddess. Gotta love it. I mean, come on, right? Let's talk about taxes in a really fun way. We've talked about taxes here before. We get lots of tips and we get strategies and we get all that good stuff that is geared to helping our business owners save money and avoid problems and all of that stuff. But now, Shauna, I know that you go the extra mile for our entrepreneurs. Why don't we start by talking a little bit about your business so our listeners have a frame of reference for who you are, what you got going on with your business?
Absolutely. So I'll try and give the very long 19-year history in as short a piece as possible. So very long story short, and you can see from all of my little designations here. So Tax Goddess is 19 years old. As a firm, we offer two primary things, right? One is the CPA side, so taxes, payroll, IRS notices, that kind of deal. The other one is strategy. And really the biggest reason to be looking, if you're an entrepreneur, it's not always your CPA. I think that's one of the biggest things that we hear is that, well, my CPA's got me covered for strategy. Most people don't even know that there's two separate professionals. One is your CPA filing taxes. One is your tax strategist. And so the background of Tax Goddess as a company is really me and my brainchild, my baby, coming out to the world saying, listen, we've worked with the ultra high, super net worth, type of business owners. They're good, they're covered, they have strategists on the team. The little guy really doesn't, right? So for people that are making gross under about 100 million, they really don't have anybody on their team fighting for them for these strategies, right? They've got the CPA. CPA said fund a retirement plan and buy a couple of cars. That's great, but at some point you don't need a fleet, right? We don't need 40 cars sitting in the driveway. We can't drive them all, right? So I think that's really the biggest driver of Tax Goddess as a whole is to make sure that everyone has access to the strategies, right? Whether you're making 50,000 a year or 500 million a year, right? Let's make sure that everybody is not overpaying the government a single penny more than they absolutely have to.
We hear people say, you have to pay your taxes, but don't pay more than you absolutely have to.
Absolutely.
Most of us are not trained in this stuff. We know that there are deductions that we can take. We know that there are professionals who can help us. That's in many cases about as far as the strategy goes. So what does it even mean to not overpay in your taxes? Maybe you can shed a little bit of light on this for us, because I think for those who don't fully get it, conceptually it makes sense, but we understand a lot of things conceptually. If you don't really understand how it impacts you, how it affects you, then it's like, okay, well, that's just another thing that I don't want on my to-do list.
And you know what? You hit on something really important here, which is if this is something you care about, it needs to be on your to-do list. There are some people that are like, listen, I'm perfectly happy paying the government my 20, 30, 40, 50%, and they're the government and I trust them to do what they are going to do properly with the money. And that's fine. You want to write the check, you write the check. There's a lot of other people that say, I'm not really so thrilled with how our government is spending our money, and I would like to make the choice. I want to give it to charity. I want to build a school. I want to help the homeless. I want to help animals. Whatever your thing is, I want to put my kids through college. I want to set myself up for retirement. It doesn't really matter what the thing is. If you have control of your dollars, you get to choose what your thing is. And I think for a lot of people where I'm paying too much in taxes, it's not about I'm paying too much in taxes. It's about I don't really like where the money's going, right? I don't agree with whatever's happening. And this is not to go into politics at all, right? Doesn't matter which side of the court you're on here. So when we talk about tax strategy, we start from the standpoint, there's really two primary things we start with. The first one is, well, what do you want to do with your money? I want to pay for kids' college. I want to pay off my house. I want to get out of debt. I want to maybe buy a new car. I want to remodel my kitchen, whatever, right? Whatever it is that works for you. That's one thing we need to know. And the second thing we need to know is, what is your aggression level? Okay. So the way we phrase it, it's a coined term for tax goddess aggression level, 0 to 10. 0 meaning the IRS never calls you never ever, except you're leaving a ton of money on the table. Okay. 10 meaning we're all going to jail. So you as a business owner and your family, right? If you're married, your spouse, right? You need to understand, where do you sit on that aggression scale? So if you're a 0, 1, 2, you're probably I'm an 8, right? So you're probably, from my perspective, overpaying taxes. But if you're a 2 and you're good with it, be happy with it. That's fine. If you're an 8 or a 9 or a 10 or a 20, I've had some people tell me they're 20, and I'm like, no, come back to the good side, come back to the light side, right? I'm an 8 because an 8 means we're taking all the deductions, everything legal, everything above board. The IRS might call. That's okay. Here's all the backup. Here's the proof. Here's the deal, right? So we drag them back, get them to an 8, right? But that way, the money, the deductions, the strategies, everything that we use puts that cash back into your pocket, right? And you can decide, do I want to help a charity or pay for something, whatever, right? Whatever it is that you want to do, you can choose with that money. So.
Okay. So awesome explanation. For those who are listening, I've never heard anybody put it that way. You know, your range there, I'm thinking to myself, where am I? You know, I'm not even gonna disclose that, but it was very revealing.
And you have to make sure that you and your team are on the same page, because most entrepreneurs, most of them, not all of them, but most entrepreneurs are in that 6, 7, 8 kind of level. You wouldn't be an entrepreneur if you weren't willing to take some risk, right, to get that reward. And that is that 6, 7, 8 level generally, right? Most CPAs are -4, maybe to a 2, right? So we hear this a lot of like, well, listen, I read this amazing article in Forbes or in the Wall Street Journal, and it said that I could do this. And I took that to my CPA, and CPA did, well, I don't know about that. And no, we can't do that. And without even their ears or their eyes being open to the fact that these things are legal and they are above board. And that's okay. Most CPAs don't have time, right? I mean, if you think about your CPA, could you call them on April 15th? No. Face down, eyes down, working on it. They don't have time to research this. It's one of the benefits of being purely a tax strategist. It's my job to know, to research. I read the 3 updates a day that comes from the IRS, right? We get an update every single week from every single site, right? It's my job to know what you can do, when you can do it, how you do it, plus making sure you're staying at an 8, not going to a 10.
So we are recording this literally the very end of November. And I am taking an educated guess here that this is coming out in either December or January. So those listening may be listening at the end of the year. They may be listening at the beginning of the year. They might be listening to this a year later. Maybe they just finally stumbled upon this amazing podcast and they're like, oh, I have to mass consume everything, right?
Yeah.
So let's maybe share a few tips. Let's start from the end of the year perspective. Some people are probably like, oh, well, you know, it's pretty much buttoned up now, right? Not much I can do now. Is that true?
No, there is always something you can do. Now I will phrase it this way. Let me back up. If you call me on December 31st and I already have a glass of champagne in my hand, you're kind of SOL, right? Just saying here, okay? However, right, if you hear this December 1st, okay, December 15th, okay, you still have until the ball drops midnight, December 31st, to be able to do whatever strategies you're going to do, okay? So a couple of the things that I want you to be looking for, okay? First one, if you're an S Corp or a partnership or a C Corp, if you have never heard the term accountable plan, you need to talk to your CPA like now, like right now, okay? An accountable plan allows you to deduct, that's the document that allows you to deduct home office, cell phone, internet, specialty clothing, right? If you've got a logoed specialty clothing, okay? That is the document that allows you to deduct that. Now, a lot of CPAs don't realize they need the document. They're maybe already letting you deduct that home office, but without that document, you're like a level 15 on the scale. Okay, so let's get you back into above board legal. You got to have that document. So that's step number one. Step number two, which is everybody's favorite, dogs. If you have dogs and you have clients that come to your home or your dogs go with you to work, your dogs can be written off as security. So let me give you the little tips here. Okay, so the dog's shoulder needs to be taller than the height of the shortest person in your household's knee. Okay, so if you've got a 5-year-old, that little Chihuahua, maybe not a Chihuahua, but like medium-sized Cocker Spaniel, okay, might work. Okay, you do have to have a business purpose. So business people, clients, vendors, whoever coming to your home, business purpose, we're good. And the dog needs to have basic training. Sit, stay, come, right? Basic training. If they need all those qualifications, vet visits, grooming, food, toy, all of it. Okay, huge deduction on that front. So if your dog meets those qualifications, go backwards through the year, add up all those expenses, tell your CPA their security. Okay, so good there. And probably my favorite, if I had to pick a third, probably my favorite is the master's exemption. So it's one of the things that I love about being a citizen of the US. If the laws are written for the government, the laws are written for you. Okay. And there is a very specific exemption that you can rent your personal home to your business for 14 days a year and pay zero tax on any of that money. So you get tax-free cash and you get the tax deduction. So like double dipping on the same dollars. Now the coolest thing, and many people have heard of this, and that's great, Sean, I've already heard that one. What most people don't know is that you are allowed to charge rent at the fair market value of whatever the rent is for that space. You can hear my security system going off in the background. I apologize. You can charge the fair market value of rent for that space. So if you live, let me give you the range. If you live way out in the middle of nowhere, your rental rate may be $300 per event. Okay, 14 times 3, still good. Okay, still not bad. The highest rent I've ever seen was in Manhattan. One event, $17,800 per event. So if you're doing 14 of those a year, you're almost writing off $250,000. Huge numbers. Okay, so that one, you can also look backwards and see, did I have any staff meetings at my house? Did I have any mastermind events at my house? Did I call somebody in to record a podcast in my home studio, right? What did we do at my house? So those kinds of things can absolutely be a tax deduction, even if you're looking backwards. So we have until December 31st to get those on the books. So some great ones going backwards.
So fun. So as you were talking about the security, I was just disappointed that my Pomeranian that was just barking nonstop while the HVAC people were here could not be written off. I was thinking to myself, that's a couple strikes against you, dog.
There was a court case where somebody tried to get a Chihuahua, right? The IRS basically, right, you got to meet that shoulder. So unfortunately, we're talking some bigger puppies.
So then, not sure if this would count, but for our Christmas cafe and market business, our little Pomeranian wears some very adorable Christmas attire, which we use for social media marketing.
I was about to say marketing and advertising is another way. Absolutely. Right. Now, let me give you the court case here, right? Because when we start talking about strategies, it's all about the court case, right? It's the facts and circumstances of each and every case. Okay. So there have been court cases about using animals. Cats, doesn't have to be a dog. Cats, dogs, ferrets. Was actually in a court case. Okay. Any animal that's fine in advertising, marketing, whatever, you have to be able to prove that you made income from the use of that animal. So you see a lot of these, TikTok, where the dog has the TikTok account or whatever. It's bringing advertising revenue. It's making money. And it's clear that it's from that dog. So as long as you can prove that you're making income, you're good to go. Absolutely.
There you go. Bonus tip. So I want to shift gears a little bit, and I want to get into the mindset. Whenever you even say the word taxes, okay, right? I mean, it creates some pretty negative associations for people.
Yeah.
Where do we begin when it comes to shifting our mindset around taxes? How do we get out of this fear that has been so programmed into all of us?
100%, 100%. And I'm going to be honest with you, and I hope it's okay to say it this way. Step one is talk to somebody, right? Because yes, you're afraid because you've been programmed like, oh God, I made all this money, I'm going to have to write that check. No, you don't. No, you don't. Okay. So step one is getting some alternate opinions. Okay. Talk to a strategist. There's only 607 people in the entire US that have the official strategist title, right? I'm in the top 3. They refuse to tell us who's number 1, but for sure. But anyway, so there's only 607 of us. Get an alternate opinion. Okay, so step one, talk to people. Educate. Okay, so Wall Street Journal, Forbes, they do an amazing job. Entrepreneur, right? They do an amazing job of writing articles specifically for business owners to at least give you some ideas, right? You're not trapped. You're not stuck in this hole that you can't get out of. Okay. When you start to see this information, your mindset will shift. Okay. Purely and simply because it's not, how do I want to say it? I have heard this statement at least 100 times where somebody will come to us and say, well, my CPA said there's nothing we can do. That's it. We've done everything we can do. And I go back to the fact that I love CPAs. I'm CPA, right? I love CPAs. Their job is to keep you filing tax returns, filing them properly, and to keep you out of jail. Their job, what you pay them to do, is not to find you strategy. And I think that's where this biggest wall is for a lot of people is, well, my CPA said there's nothing else I can do. That's great. Get a second opinion from somebody who knows what else to be done, because there's lots. I mean, this year alone, we've saved our clients over $1.12 billion because their previous CPA said there was nothing they could do. There's always something. And maybe, don't get me wrong, maybe your CPA is the one out of, well, there's 660,000 CPAs according to Google. So the one out of 660,000 that knows what they're doing and they've done everything for you. It's part of the reason why, at least for me, and I know for a lot of other strategists, we offer a guarantee. If we can't find you anything, if we can't help you, 1, there's no charge. And 2, if you work with us, we give you a money back guarantee. We guarantee you will find savings. So I think it's one of the things, really, it's about opening your mind and just looking, research, go to Google, tax strategies, you will find thousands. Now, making sure you're using the right strategies and not the bad strategies for the IRS, that's where you call an expert. So
yeah. They say knowledge is power. And this is one of those scenarios where that really is true.
100%. Yeah.
So then here we are rolling into 2024.
Yeah.
If someone wants to get themselves on the right trajectory, maybe they're like, okay, there's probably not a whole lot I can do for the past 5, 10, 15, 20 years that I've been overpaying in taxes.
Side note, you can go back 3. If we find something, you can get refunds for up to 3 years back. So
okay, so even more incentive to start the year right.
Yes.
Maybe you could share with us a couple of tips, or even just something to get people pointed in the right direction.
I think so. I'm going to give you a technical tip, and then because you were talking about mindset, a mindset tip and a technical tip, right? Mindset tip, okay. Knowledge is power. Do your research. Okay. talk to friends and family, talk to financial advisors. They often have connections to strategists. Okay. Talk to lawyers. They often have ideas, right? So if you have a family lawyer, if you have a family financial advisor, whatever, talk to these insurance brokers, like your life insurance, your health insurance. They often know who to talk to. Okay. So that would be my first tip here. If you don't already have somebody in mind, talk. See who you can find. Go on a hunt. Okay. That'll be your January Easter egg in preparation for Easter, I suppose. Go on the hunt. Okay. The actual tax tip, I think the biggest thing that we see most people miss, the IRS gives you 3 words that you have to follow to be able to take something as a deduction. Okay. Ordinary, necessary, and reasonable. Those 3: ordinary, necessary, reasonable. Okay. Any business, doesn't matter what the business is, doesn't matter what industry, doesn't matter if it's big or small or whatever, have to follow those 3 words: ordinary, necessary, and reasonable. Okay. What that means is that depending on the type of business you're in, some people get to deduct things that other people don't. Okay. So for example, you said the Christmas mart, right? And you've got this cute little Pomeranian and he wears, I'm totally picturing like the little collar with the bells or like whatever, super adorable, no doubt in my mind. For you, that's a tax deduction. If I had a Pomeranian, no. Taxes, maybe I could sell taxes with Pomeranian. They are awfully cute. But, right, it's got to be ordinary, necessary, and reasonable. And so with a lot of people, what ends up happening is they're spending a lot of money out of their personal pocket. They're paying for that internet at the house out of the personal pocket. They stop to get donuts for their staff, personal pocket. Okay. Look at where you're spending your money and go through. If you start at the beginning of the year, this is a lot easier than wait until December. Every month when you go through your bank statements, in your head, ordinary, reasonable, and necessary. Is there anything in this bank statement that meets those 3 that really should tie to the business that I'm paying for personally? So that would be where I start.
Love it. This is a really great time for you to share with our listeners how they can connect with you. I have a feeling there are some people who have been listening and they're thinking to themselves, I need the tax goddess.
Well, I would love to help. This is definitely my my mission, my purpose is helping business owners. It's exactly why I actually wrote a book recently, the 6% Life. Our average tax rate for our clients is 6%. So if you're paying more than 6%, check out the book, 6% Life, Amazon, all the good places. The easiest place to find us, if you would like to reduce your taxes, whether that's this year, if you hear this on December 31st, I will have champagne in my hand about 2:00. Heads up notice. But taxgoddess.com is the easiest place to find us. You can book an appointment with my team. We have a global team. We're at about 90 something right now in 16 different countries. So we'd love to meet with you, speak with you, and see how we can keep that money in your pocket instead of the government's. So
awesome. This has been a really, really great conversation. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I don't usually enjoy talking about taxes, but I think that your energy and your wisdom are so incredible. And I want to thank you, Shauna, for being with us and sharing everything that you've shared. And I highly encourage our listeners to make sure they connect with you.
Well, thank you. It is my pleasure to educate and to teach. And if we can keep all the money in everybody's pockets instead of the government, I do honestly believe we'll have a much better time. So let me help everybody else keep that cash. So.
Awesome. And of course, have to thank all of our listeners. We're doing this for you. If you haven't already subscribed, make sure you do so. And until next time, we will see you in the next episode.